you're using the strongbox wrong. But I'm not using the strongbox, and that's exactly what's wrong. When the strongbox first came out, a lot of content creators say that the strongbox is terrible. I believe this is because the strongbox is just another layer of gambling in the game. But using the strongbox is so much better than not using it at all. So much so that I'd even claim that saying don't roll any artifacts makes more sense than saying don't use the strongbox. Now with the new update, a lot of people like the strongbox better, but I believe that most still don't see the full potential of the strongbox. Let's try to see the maths behind the strongbox. Oh, by the way, if I get something wrong, please comment it down. Now then, if you have 300 artifacts and you put it all into the strongbox, you would generate 100 more RTs, which is a 33% gain for a lot of XP lost. But there's actually much more to it than that. To illustrate, let's look at the expected value. Let's say you want a specific artifact, a viridescent EM Sands perhaps. Let's call this the viridescent artifact goal, or VAG for short. The chance of getting a VV is 1 out of 2, times the chance of getting a Sands, which is 1 out of 5, times the chance of getting EM, which is 1 out of 10. In short, the chance of getting this artifact from a domain is 1 out of 100. If you farm domain and get 9,000 artifacts from the domain, you will get an average of 90 VAGs. Now, if you feed those 9,000 artifacts into the strongbox, you would get an average of 30 VAGs, which is 33% more than not using the strongbox. But you see, the chance of getting a VAG from the strongbox is different. The chance of getting VV is 100% instead of 1 out of 2. It follows that the chance of getting a VAG from the strongbox is 1 out of 50. Plugging that into the formula and we get an average of 150 VAGs. That's 66% more VAGs than when not using the strongbox at all, and infinitely more VAGs than you get in real life. You might be thinking, if I farm 9,000 RTs from a domain and 90 of them are VAGs which I want, shouldn't I be able to only feed 8,910 RTs into the strongbox? Well, instead of feeding the 90 VAGs to the strongbox, just take 90 bad RTs from the strongbox itself and feed it into the strongbox. That way, you can still feed 9,000 RTs into the strongbox while keeping your 90 VAGs, and also getting your extra VAGs from the strongbox. Disclaimer: farming 9,000 RTs and feeding them all to the strongbox won't guarantee exactly 150 VAGs. Luck will play a part. But the more you repeat the process, the closer your ratio to 9,000 domain RTs farmed and fed to 150 VAGs will be. The concern you're probably thinking of is that you would lose a lot of artifact XP, and that makes the strongbox not worth using. Well, you're not actually losing that much. Instead of comparing how much more RT we've gained, I believe it is better to compare how much the strongbox speeds up your farming compared to how much artifact XP we lost. There are probably better ways to represent this, but let's keep using the expected value since it looks so simple. Also because I'm not good at math. Using this formula, we can represent our expected value as a function of how many artifacts we got from domains. Let's call this variable VAG and this one T for trash. If we set a constant value for VAG, we can solve for T to see how much trash we would need to farm to get a specific expected value of VAG. Let's say we want 150 VAG, and as you can see, without using the strongbox, you need to farm around 15,000 RTs to get an average of 150 VAG. On the other hand, when using the strongbox, you only need 9,000 to get the same expected value. That's 40% less artifacts you have to farm to get the same result. In other words, you can get the same average result for 40% less resin spent. Side note, if you keep refeeding RTs until there's only one left, it would be approximately 50% less artifacts you have to farm. I don't recommend that, but if you want a very specific artifact, that might be the fastest way. Also, this doesn't just apply to VAGs. You could plug in any artifact goal as long as you want a specific set. Now then, what about how much XP we lost? You can see in this short where I calculated the chance of a bonus RT that I have been recording how much RTs I get in each condensed resin domain run. With 418 condensed resin, here's what I found out. We get most of our artifact XP from blue and violet artifacts that we get from domains. Artifact XP that comes from gold artifacts total to 25% to 28% of all our artifact XP. But you're still losing around 30%, which is a lot. No, you're not. Remember that when you use the strongbox, you get 1 RT in exchange of 3. That 1 RT can still be used as artifact XP. So we're only losing 2/3 of our gold artifact XP, which is around 18% of all our artifact XP. And that's without counting artifact investigation routes and sanctifying unctions. This thing. To summarize, I suggest that the way to use the strongbox is to feed as much RTs in it as you are getting from domains. By doing this, you're sacrificing around 18% of your artifact XP to reduce your farming by 40%. Theoretically, an artifact that would take 10 days to farm would only take 6 days with the strongbox. In terms of speed, that is 66% faster, and now I don't know why I didn't just use that number, but I only calculated this part after everything else, so it's staying. The strongbox is a really good catch-up mechanic for a really bad artifact system. You don't exactly have to feed all your domain artifacts if you want, but the point of this video is that the more you use the strongbox, the more value it will return, so don't be afraid to use it.